Having a mentor tell you how to become more successful, having a parent tell you to go to Harvard Medical School, having a childhood family friend show you how to create passive income or invest in the stock market. These are all potentially traumatic events. And that is why I'm recording this episode, is too often when we talk about trauma, everyone's head goes to these negative experiences that we have in our lives, right? These big bad things, or sometimes often the big T traumas, right? Physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse. But the truth is, trauma is anything that alters the natural course of the direction of your life. Right? So anytime that you experience an event, maybe you get some advice, parenting advice, mentorship advice, maybe you are just observing other people who you respect and admire, people you look up to or you want to be more like. All of these things have the potential to be traumatic. And I think that is, to me, one of the big hangups with guys kind of moving slower through their recovery is we're constantly hunting for these negative events, right? From my experience, both personally and, with the guys in our groups, a lot of the most traumatic events that have happened to them are actually positive events. Winning the national championship and receiving the praise and admiration from, your team members and your parents, right? On the surface, that looks like a really good thing, right? No one would call that traumatic. You worked so hard to win the state championship. How could that possibly be a traumatic event? Well, it doesn't have to be, but it could be. And what I mean by that is the event happens, and this isn't just specific to that winning the national championship. This could be anything, right? The event happens, and then there's a conclusion that we draw from that event every single time. There is some varying level of conclusion. So let's say it's something like winning the national championship. One could draw the conclusion that I need to accomplish these grand gestures in front of an audience in order for them to like me, in order for me to matter. And why did the young man draw such a conclusion? Well, let's say no one really noticed him. No one complimented him. No one really celebrated his life or his talents until this victory, right? He wins the state championship. Let's say he's the star quarterback for the football team. And now he's being celebrated. He's being talked about, right? Maybe his face is in the newspaper, right? And so if this feels like a very, maybe the first time that this young man has felt important or celebrated, right? His parents are so proud of him. They're telling everybody in the community. There could be this potential conclusion that he needs to do this again and again and again and again and again. Now, some of you listening might say, so what's wrong with him, accomplishing great things, athletically and non-athletically? What's wrong with that? Well, there might not be anything wrong with it. It just depends on what conclusion he comes to. So let's say that the conclusion is I need to impress people, I need to accomplish hard things, and I need to accomplish as many hard things as possible because that's the only way to impress people. And the more people I impress, the better of a person I am, the more value I bring, right? It enhances my self-worth. Now, if that person cannot keep up with the accomplishments, right? It was easy when he was in high school, right? But, becoming, winning the national championship and collegiate football, that's a hard thing to do. Winning the Super Bowl, that's even harder, right? So let's say that he doesn't make the team in college. So now he can no longer play football. All right, so now that is out of the cards. So now what's left, right? So it depends on what else he did that was impressive, right? So this could be, maybe he saw some scholastic success, right? Maybe his grades were really good. Okay, so that propels him for another 4 years or potentially 8 years. Let's say he goes to grad school and gets his master's degree or his doctorate degree. Now he has this place to practice getting good grades, right? So he's keeping this charade up, right? He's impressing people. He's doing hard things. He's staying in the top 1%. Okay, so now he's out of school though. So now what, right? So he can't use grades. He can't use football. So, okay, he gets a job. Let's say he's in some sort of a sales position. Okay. So now he has to be in the top 1%, if not number one in his industry for selling whatever it is, the thing that is that he sells. So he's pursuing and climbing the ladder. Now this is difficult. The world's full of a lot of other people who might be just as talented or more talented than you. So will you be number one every single month, right? And how realistic is that? My point is, here was this event that one would never call traumatic, right? He's worked so hard to win the national championship in high school. But now look at what this did, right? The event occurred. He concluded that he needed to accomplish hard things to matter, to be significant, for people to care about him. And so now he's on this mission his whole life to accomplish hard things. Now, again, you still might be asking, Roland, I'm still not seeing the trauma here. Well, here's the trauma. Because the conclusion was if the more hard things I accomplish, the more people care about me. So here's the opposite of that. If I'm unable to accomplish hard things, if I'm unable to do something rare or remarkable, do I matter? And inevitably, he is going to find himself in some sort of position where his industry is being taken over by AI. So now his industry is disappearing. This thing that he had now dedicated his life to for 10 years, it's going away. He can't now do that anymore. So now he has to change careers. And then maybe AI takes over that career and so on and so on and so on. The point is, while it may not look like your very stereotypical childhood trauma, here is this adult male who constantly needs to prove that he is in the top 1% of everything that he's doing, or he is not okay. He does not feel significant, right? So let's say he finds himself in a position where maybe he's in a career and he's not good at that one, right? He can't be 1% in the top 1% because he's just simply not talented in that way. So now he needs to change another career and again and again. Now, let's say he's on his 5th career and he's still unable to be in the top percent in this 5th career. That's 5 failed attempts. Now what is he story? Is he telling himself the story that, oh, I'm too old. I've lost my edge. I've lost my passion. I don't have the skill. And then what's going to happen, right? What's he going to do? Is he going to turn to females and women? Is he going to start getting the attention from women to start make himself feel better? Maybe not. Maybe he's going to latch on to another addiction. Maybe it would be a substance. Are you seeing here how trauma works, right? The point is, it doesn't have to be some sort of abusive event. It could be a really positive event that made you feel really, really great, but the trauma is the conclusion. It's the conclusion that you draw from that event and the significance that that has on your life, the world, how you're seen by others. I hope this helps kind of expand your definition of trauma. A lot of it is just simply advice that we got from our parents, from our mentors, maybe something you saw on TV or on social media, right? All of this data is entering your life and you're drawing conclusions from all of it. In order to matter, I need to do this, and this. In order to have friends, I need to wear these certain amounts of clothes. In order to earn the respect of the people in my community, I need to have a house that looks like this, a car looks like this. I need to be a member of this country club. My golf game, I need to get my golf score to this, or no one's going to take me seriously or want to hang out with me. Who knows what the conclusions are that you are drawing from these various things happening in your life? But, again, the conclusion could be, I'm too old. I'm not skinny enough. My muscles aren't big enough. My bank account's not big enough. All of these things enter our life, and too often we don't look at them as traumatic. But, again, my definition of trauma, and I think this is in alignment with a lot of definitions of trauma, it's these things happening. It's altering the course of how you would have lived your life had that event not occurred, right? So now that that event occurred and you drew the conclusion that you drew from that event, now you are going to live your life different. You're going to make different decisions. You're going to go into a different career path. You maybe decided to have kids. Maybe you didn't decide to have kids. Maybe you got married. Maybe you chose not to get married. Maybe you don't see the value in marriage because marriage looks like an inconvenience according to the new belief system, right? So the point is, all of these things are entering your life and they start to alter your decision-making skills. And rather than looking inward at how does this make me feel? What kind of decision do I want to make? What's the right decision for me, right? What's the right lifestyle for me to live? You don't do that, right? We start buying into these conclusions that we made from these events that happened in our life. And that is trauma. Whether it's something positive, whether it's something negative, it doesn't matter. Anytime that something enters your life and it convinces you to make a different decision, a decision that you wouldn't have normally made on your own, right? The true you, the authentic you, the life that you really need to be living, you might not be living that. In fact, the more mentors and the more people who have given you advice, you might have listened to them and you might be living what, America would define as a successful existence, right? You have the money, the job, the career, the looks, the cars, the material things, whatever, but you might not feel fulfilled at all. It might be a life that someone like you was never designed to live ever, right? So here's all of these, what looks like nice things happening to you, but your fulfillment's lower than ever before. A lot of these people are depressed. I mean, you've seen this. There's a lot of extremely successful, blessed individuals who have taken their life because their life just feels so hollow. It feels so unfulfilling. They're just miles away from the person that they were meant to become. So my goal of kind of creating this video and then this podcast episode for you guys was so that you can tap into a wider variety and a bigger definition of trauma. Because again, all of these maladaptive behaviors, addiction, compulsion, just making mistakes, acting outside of our value system, all of these things are a result of the things that we have learned. And again, some of them positive, some of them negative. Doesn't really matter if they're perceived as good or bad. The point is, how far off are you from the person that you were meant to be and the life that you were meant to live? That's trauma.